I'll quickly jump onto the major modules and applications which Maximo has. Answering to your first question, like there are when you compare with other tools, even other tools will have similar setup of modules, but it has extended ones. I mean, like it has administrator module, resources module. Okay, before I jump into say what is I mean, like the modules. So what Maximo has is like it has n number of applications. Each n number of applications, there are grouped based on their business functionality. Say for example, you if you want to have the persons, users, people, other information, those are grouped into a resources module. Module is nothing but the group of applications with a similar base functionality, whereas application is nothing but the independent application where you can define your new records or you can view your new records and other stuff. Since we are not going into application, I'll just brief you like what it is, but when you get into application, probably it will be easy for you guys to understand more better. Before that, I'll just give you the brief introduction, I can say, so that you'll be aware like what are applications it has, what all modules it has, and what is its significance. Okay. So yeah, as I mentioned, like there are multiple modules. I have listed down only few of them. There are other modules. I have listed the ones which are being very frequently used in majority of the customer places, but there are few more which are very customer centric, and they are using for their purpose, but these are the major modules which will be extendedly used, and a lot of customer base is being used for this. Okay. So like administration module, resources module, report administration module, planning module, procurement module, inventory module, asset module, work management, finance, security, self-service. Again, each module will have multiple applications which will talk about each independent application. I'll not be covering all the independent applications, but I'll be covering the major applications and how it has implications to other applications. I'll be talking about them. Let me jump into this Maximo asset life cycle. So as I was mentioning about the multiple applications which you have, these are the major applications which are being used in Maximo, like asset life cycle management, receiving, inspection, induction, retire, inventory management of spares, consumables, issues tracking. So I don't want to read out these all details, but we have what I was trying to say is like we have multiple applications which are part of multiple modules which we have listed down on the other slide. So you can track a lot of things in Maximum, and like you can have the all the equipments, or say for example, if you go for transportation industry, you can track all your vehicles which are owned by the customer, like the vans, the trailers, lot many. I mean, even you can have the track of dollies, and you can also have you can have the, sorry. Okay. So you can have record of all the master data, like the number of assets you have in your organization, and where that particular vehicle is, sorry, I mean, like when I say asset, you can also call it as equipment, where that particular equipment is placed, what are the specifications of that particular equipment, if that particular equipment have any sub assemblies, like say for example, if you take a computer, if you consider laptop as a equipment, you can also track where that particular laptop is there, and you can also track like if it has any spare parts associated. Like when I say spare parts associated, you can track you can track its keyboard. If you take a computer, you can consider your CPU as a separate asset, and you can associate those as it. There are multiple logical associations with which you'll get a lot of information there. Maybe theoretically, if I keep saying like that, might get into different direction, but what I'm wholly trying to understand, let you guys understand is like there are a lot of capabilities which are with Maximo, where you can track a lot of things. I mean, like you can also have your inventory management, you can also have your work management, you can also have your resource management, you can plan things. I mean, like obviously if you are under maintenance roles, you need to plan things, right? I mean, say for example, if you are in any power sector, if you are in any energy generation sector, if one asset fails, there is a lot of implication to the customer business. So what they'll have is like they'll have these maintenance activities ready, and they'll plan things. Say if you have a car, and if it needs maintenance regularly, obviously you need to know like when that regular maintenance should happen. If it is single asset, yes, you can note down somewhere and you can have a track of it. But if you can consider any big organization, they cannot plan things on their excels or somewhere, right? So that way also Maximo can be used, where they can plan things. I mean, like they can have the maintenance registry, and system will automatically trigger a work order records, which talks about the maintenance activity to be done. Okay. So when we are talking about asset management, there are multiple modules which are again related to the asset. So the most of the EM things are dealing with the maintenance activities. So asset would be the major one, where that can be a reference to everything, where you need to keep linking to different applications. Say for example, if you see the asset, you can also link with the planning and scheduling. You can also have link with the work management. You can also have the condition monitoring, which is a different application in Maximo. You can also have the metering related one. You can also have the resources. You can also have the health and safety. These are all multiple functionalities which are supporting the asset maintenance, right? So when I go for planning and scheduling, there are again further there are multiple applications which are interlinked with this. You can have the assignments created for the labor. You can have a contractors assigned for that maintenance work. You can have the PM schedules. When I say PM schedules, it's a maintenance activity which happens on frequently based. As I mentioned, like if you have one car, you can note it down somewhere, and you can go for the maintenance on certain time periods, maybe for the kilometers or maybe for the time bound. But if you have multiple assets, then you need to schedule them. You need to have the data input to Maximo. That will automatically take care of a lot of things there. Again, when you come to the work management, you can have the work schedule. I mean, like say for example, you have a maintenance for that particular asset. Then obviously you would need a lot of labor required for it. You'll need a lot of materials for the maintenance. These all things can be tracked under work management, where work management will calculate your resources, your labor part. A lot of things would be considered, and that will give information to the asset management team, saying like for the maintenance of the particular asset, you are spending this much. Say for example, I'll take a simple example. I mean, like in the same example which I had given in the past. Say for example, you're going for a maintenance on a car for say $100 per every maintenance, which is on every month. But actual cost of your car is like $1,000, let's assume that way. So what happens? I mean, like in a year, you're spending more than the car say. I mean, like per an year. I mean, like if you go for 100 into 12, it is $1,200. But whereas the actual cost of the car is $1,000. So this way, even when you run this YTD report, which is available in Maximo, that will give you saying like on the maintenance of this particular asset, you are spending $1,200, whereas the purchase cost of that particular asset is $1,000, which will help the management to take decision whether to continue with the current vehicle, or you can go for the new vehicle even, right? Mm, right, guys?
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay, so there are multiple things which are interrelated, because like if you want to get the cost of it, obviously you need to interlink the asset with the work management relation. I mean, like in the work management, asset would be the primary key where, I mean, the information can be gathered and pulled it. The same way the resources things also will come in, because like when you go for the work order maintenance, you'll need to have the lot of labor information to be popped up, lot of resources, lot of materials which are used for this maintenance. These all information would be again linked to the asset. In the same way, we have the condition monitoring. I mean, like say for example, there are multiple types of maintenance created as part of Maximo. One is the condition monitoring. Condition monitoring is nothing but like if any vehicle has like lower range and upper range, if you want to generate some condition based work orders, then you'll use this condition monitoring. But again, the asset would be the primary key here. Same way you have the spare part, the procurement, storerooms, I think these are all interrelated. I mean, like even though we have multiple applications and multiple modules, some or other way each module and each application are interconnected in Maximo, right? So uh, am I making it clear, guys, or is it being confused? How is it? Is it okay?
Yeah, fine. But again, one doubt. So in
Mm-hmm.
previous slide, you mentioned that mean time between failure, mean time to repair, right? So how that is related to again in the asset life cycle?
Right. So I believe like you are aware like what is meantime MTTR and MTBF, if I am not wrong.
Yes. The
So
mean time between failure, mean time to repair, like if any server is down or anything.
correct. So how that is related is like say asset has something called downtime maintenance. I mean, like it has something called downtime. When you are in an organization where you have multiple assets to be managed, and you can have backup to each asset. So right, I mean, like when particular asset is going for maintenance, there is something called downtime, which records the time between the downtime and the time which it comes up, right? So that functionality will give the results which are related to MTTR and MTBF. MTTR and MTBF, it's again like it's not default thing in Maximum, but it's a customizable report which we can calculate from asset using the work order maintenance. It's not standard functionality which comes with Maximum, but it is customizable, and most of the customers are being used it.
Okay. It means like
Yeah.
we have to calculate it manually. For example, if I have 10 outages,
Mm.
so like how many minutes it is down. So based on that, we have to calculate it.
Not for single. Yeah, I mean, like as I mentioned, there is something called downtime. When you select that option called, I mean, like there is some status change which talks about downtime. When you click on that, till the time, say for example, asset has multiple status involved. Like one is active, one is decommissioned, one is
Yeah,
operating,
yeah.
right? So when you change the status to decommission, and there would be one checkbox which would be automatically selected, which means the asset is down. Until the time you make it either operating or active, the time would be automatically calculated, and it would be displayed in a field where it talks about that how much time it took for getting overall.
Okay, okay. Thank you.
uh, yeah. So asset management, I mean, like again, see, most of the things will revolve between assets only. So again, the asset management will have the entire infrastructure information, the spare parts, the performance and work history to, I mean, like to take the decisions based on the number of repairs it happens, and whether to take this, as I mentioned, like if your maintenance cost is going beyond the actual cost of the thing, you can go for either you can take a decision whether to repair it or replace it. And also say, also you can generate some trend saying like this particular worker I mean the particular repair is happening at a certain time because of so and so reason. So what all steps you are performing to get it back. And when next time, if it happens next time, you need not to go to the manuals and study it. So there is something called job plans in Maximo, which talks about the list of activities, like what steps it needs to take care. Like say for example, if you want to overhaul an AC, then you need to remove the shutter and you need to clean the filter which it has. These are all the steps which you need to do when you go for maintenance of an AC. So if someone new comes in, and if there are certain steps which are not regular and which you want to include, what happens is, like, there is something called job plans in Maximo, which you can associate to a work order which comes from asset again, right? So with that, what happens, like, when he opens the work order record, it will directly show you, okay, these are the list of steps you need to consider when you are going for overhaul of AC, something like that. There are a lot of things which are interrelated, as I was mentioning before. And again, there is something called location or function asset, and uh, work and cost history. You can also associate a location to that particular asset. Say for example, you have an asset in location A1. You can associate saying, like, this particular asset is in A1 location, with which what happens is, like, when work order, I mean, when some maintenance thing comes in, and the technician or someone need not to search the whole inventory or whole the store, I mean whole the place. He can directly pinpoint to the location where exactly it is, because, like, you can segregate, say if you take an office, I mean, you can have the first floor, second floor, room number 1, conference room 1, conference room 2. If you segregate those things logically, then, and you can define, say, as I mentioned, like, you can have multiple locations defined in your organization, right? And if one of the AC is under maintenance or repair, the technician need not to search the whole organization. He can directly pinpoint to the location if you have this logical setup. Say these particular assets are in particular location. So when work order is raised, and if you associate when you associate a asset to it, automatically the location information would be populated in the application, so that the technician can directly go to the location, and with the asset number whatever he has, he can directly search for that particular asset, and he can do the maintenance, right? That would be easy, right? I mean, if you don't have any pinpoint location, like, if you don't have any information where it is going, then it would be tricky to understand. So in the same way, we can enhance to any extent. I mean, like, Maximo can be integrated with a lot of systems. I mean, like, you can have even GS mapping, where the spatial information can be mapped, and those informations can also be tracked. It's not like you can have only the reference of location there. You can also go for that as well. Okay. And uh, I was also mentioning about this roll up cost, subsystem service locations, right? I mean, like, roll up cost is nothing but, like, how much you are spending on the particular maintenance and other stuff, and what are all the spare parts you have been used, and what spare parts you are using, how much inventory you are using. These are all can be interrelated. And you can also have documents associated. I mean, like, say for example, for single asset, you can also have attachments associated to that particular equipment, so that, like, when someone wants to go through the manuals and other stuff, they can also go through it. Yeah. And you can also associate the hazard information, like, say for example, if you are touching something related to fire related one, they can have also, they can also have the hazard information, like what needs to be done. I mean, like, how you need to go and touch it, like the health manual in another way. These informations can be captured. And you can have the failure codes. I mean, like, if some error occurred, like, what is the root cause, like, it can have multiple levels. Again, the failure class can be divided into failure codes. The failure codes will have RCA and lot of other stuff. And you can also associate a meter to it. I mean, like, say for example, if you are talking about a car, it has a meter readings, right? And based on the meter readings, if you want to generate some work order, you can also have the meters associated. And based on the meter readings, it can generate either work order directly, or the technician can directly raise a work order for it, or it can system also has a provision to generate work orders for it. Okay. So yeah, again, uh, this is the other major module which we had. I mean, which is work management, where you can have your planned and unplanned maintenance activities from it can be starting from service request, or it can have a direct work order, or it can be through planning of the activities, or there are certain work orders which are unplanned, or maybe you can go for completion of the activities, and you can record them for the sake of casting and other stuff. There are multiple provisions are there. So you can have multiple types of work orders, I mean to say, which are related to a particular asset. As I was also mentioning about the job plans, right? I mean, job plans are nothing but like the recurring task that captures the best practices and procedures which are used in the organization, right? Which will give the enough information to the end user, the technician, whoever is going to go for overall or maintenance activity. He'll have the enough information like this, what needs to be done, right? And you can also plan things. I mean, like you can also plan the maintenance activities which are happening on regular basis. You can plan them on the based on the frequency. You can plan them based on the requirement. Or however the root process, you can plan them. You can also have the calendars, the availability of the labors, their skills, what are the qualifications he has, what are the crafts he need to have to perform a task. These are all things you can have tracked in Maximo, and these can be associated to the work orders, right? You can also have the assignment manager. I mean, like so you have hundreds of labors in your organization, and there could be one assignment. I mean, there could be a person who will be assigning tasks to multiple labors. They'll have something called assignment manager, where they can see the person availability, his strength and other stuff. These are all things can be mounted from single application, where he can track the availability of the person, and what is his qualification, what are his core strengths and other stuff. Adding to that, I mean, Maximo is not only on web based. I mean, like we can have this on mobile. I mean, few modules which are like work modules and inventory modules. Those are all like available on the uh, mobile solution as well. Okay. So supply chain is one more important module which is majorly used by majority of the customers in Maximo, which talks about how do you say it? Which talks about the procurement process. So I mean, like for any organization to run, they need to have certain inventories, right? I mean, like if any maintenance comes in, assuming like you are the one, I mean, like your organization is taking care of the whole maintenance, then definitely you should have the inventory of certain items or tools or consumables, whatever it is, right? So for that purpose, there is something called item master, which will track all the consumables. So when I say consumables, they're like the spare parts. Spare parts. Maybe, I mean, like if you take a car maintenance, you need to have certain spares like bolts and other stuff, right? So if your organization is doing that, then you should definitely have inventory of them, because like you're not talking about single asset there. We are talking about hundreds of assets which go for maintenance, right? So in that case, you'll need to have multiple spare parts which needs to be tracked at multiple storerooms, right? So if you consider big organizations or big industries, where they'll have multiple storerooms, it's not like everything would be clubbed at one place, because like they are expanded across multiple places and multiple cities as well, right? So they'll have multiple storerooms which are common for the organization, and they'll have multiple inventories which needs to be tracked, and how they needs to be tracked, how they can be used, and how they can be issued. There are a lot of things which are considered under supply chain. So basically, supply chain, again, they call it as procurement module. If you are talking about Maximo in specific, they talk about the procurement module, which comes about raising the purchase requisition, approving the purchase orders, and receiving them and making bills for them. So purchase module is one other module which is being majorly integrated with financial systems like SAP, Oracle, and other few more finance systems, right? So Maxima has capability of integrating with majority of the systems. Like ServiceNow has capability, it can be integrated with ServiceNow, it can be integrated with SAP, it can be integrated with Oracle apps, it can be integrated with PeopleSoft. There are a lot many systems which can be integrated, and there are multiple ways of doing it. Like Maximo will support web services, Maximo will support REST APIs, Maximo will support inbuilt MIF components. There are a lot of things. I'll talk about that little later. But since supply chain came in, there is scope for a lot of integration for this particular module, where it has the item master information, like the complete information of the items which you have in your organization. You can define your storerooms and associate few items to one store and few items to multiple stores based on the availability. Need say if you have 100, say for example you have multiple sites. You have one in New York, you have one in San Francisco, you have one in California, let's assume that way. So what happens is, like, you'll have your and organization is one for all these things. So you can define your storeroom at California, you can define your storeroom at San Francisco, you can define and multiple locations wherever you have, right? So based on that you can associate the items. So if there is any maintenance activity required in San Francisco, that would be easy for the technician to get the material from San Francisco storeroom instead of coming to California, right? So they'll segregate. The store manager, whoever is managing the this activity, they'll segregate it accordingly, and business would be well advanced, and they'll be able to understand this better, so they can take the collective call on that, right? And there are multiple other features which inventory management does, like the reorder point. Say for example, you have an item, spare part which you have in the inventory, and you'll let's say the trend of it is like for every 1 week you'll use at least 50 items. And if you don't have any of those items handy, then there could be critical issue which can have impact on your business as well, right? So there is something called reorder point, which will talk about which will take care of uh, which will take care of your inventory, which will take care of your inventory. Say it will automatically create a purchase requisition. From there the purchase team will be notified saying like that particular item is out of shortage, or something like it is reaching less than quantity which needs to be there. So the procurement team can automatically create a request for it. They can raise a request to the vendor. Again, Maxima has capability of capturing multiple vendors. It has list of companies which the organization will frequently get in touch with. They can have qualified vendors, they can have multiple vendors where they can go for RFQs, which is like request for quotation. So again, like, Maximo is a vast subject. Like, where you have enough functionalities which are defined in the system, and you can make use of it, like based on the business requirement. It's not like every customer will use all the tools at once, all the modules at once, but based on their requirements they can use the application to their knowledge. Additionally, we have Maxima has contract management models, like they can have the labor rate contracts, they can have the lease contracts, they can have the purchase contracts, they can have the payment schedules defined. With which, what happens is, like, whenever there is a contract with for the labor. Say for example, if you have an organization, obviously the security team and hospitality team cannot be from their organization. They'll hire someone from the external vendors. They can have resource management. Like the labor rate contracts, they can define these things in the system itself. So whenever the contract is getting expired, or whenever there is change of payment terms, whenever there is change of resource alignment, these all things can be captured from Maximo alone. The same time, we can have if you need bulk quantity to be ordered at once, you can have the purchase contracts with multiple vendors. if there is change in rate also, they can have contract saying like for thousand items we'll need to fix for these items, something like that. I mean, it depends how the need is. Based on certain needs, they can have multiple contracts associated. They can use the warranty contracts as well. So if you are in a IT based organization, you'll need to have the contracts associated based on the warranties, right? I mean, like you have anything which will have expiry dates and all, you can have a warranty defined in between. These all things you can manage in the Maximo itself. Based again, that goes to contract management. um, uh, Coming back to this procurement again, like you'll have, as I was mentioning about RFQs, you can have the company's information, you can have the master data for each of these applications, and the workflows can be defined for each transaction which you are trying to target. Okay. Is it clear, guys, till now? Hello.
Yes, yes, clear.
Okay. The same way we have with the planning and scheduling modules, which I have already spoken about. Planning, you can plan things accordingly based on the need, and scheduling, I mean, like based on the frequency or based on the time and again you can have this scheduling thing so that it will take care automatically. I'll not get into each details now, because like since we have another 10-15 minutes, so I'll quickly wrap up other content which I wanted to show. So, and we have something called a security setup, like obviously, I mean, if you have multiple users in your organization, each user will have its defined security setup, right? I mean, like no, not everyone will have access to everything. There are certain users like an administrator will have privilege to more applications, whereas developer will have few applications, whereas support guy will have few applications, whereas the end user can have different applications. These all things can be done at security setup, like we can define specific security restrictions. You can define your own authorization setups, and I mean, that particular securities you can have the users associated, so that a group of users can be associated to security group, so that every user will have similar authentication mechanism. Okay. And and there are a lot of applications which I was talking about. And if you want to define new application also, there is a provision in Maximum where you can define your own application, which we have something called application designer, where you can define your application, where you can define your field information, attribute information, whatever you have. Okay. And you can also grant access to that particular application. There are certain conditional based applications, like there are to be very precise, like we have three types of applications, where one is power app, single page app, and self service app. Power app is nothing but you'll have multiple options, like change status, routing, I mean, you'll have multiple toolbar items. Maybe when we go to this navigation, you'll understand more better on this application. But to be precise, like we have privilege to create applications and grant applications to multiple users. Okay. And there is something called automation scripting as well, where if the default OOB will not suffice the business requirement, you can also have the scripts. You can also have the Python or Jython based scripts to enhance the business requirement, right? So there are multiple provisions which we have in the system. In one chart, like if I talk about the interlink of each thing, this is how it looks like. When you have an asset, you can go for performance assignment, you can go for work orders, you can go for maintenance requests, you can have the inventory. How these are interrelated, this talks, this same single diagram will talk about this. So just have a look at once. So most of the applications are interrelated. That is what I'm trying to say. Most of the applications are interrelated and they can correlate each other. Okay. And by using Maximo, you can also have multiple reports created, and you can have the KPIs as well. This is one of the sample one which one of the customer is using, like with which they were able to see how much labor utilization is happening, how they can see how much work complaints is happening. I mean, like, what is work planned, what is the work completed, how the work is happening. These are all graphical views of the things which with which the top management or the management will be able to analyze the things happening, and they can take the call based on the information or the input they receive from the system. So if we talk about on regular generic basis, like by using Maximo, these are the challenges. I mean, like, these are the things which are proven, saying like the labor utilization came up by 20%, asset utilization came up by 3 to 5%. This is again like only for the 6 months. I mean, like the first 6 months of usage of the application, and within 6 months they were able to ensure, I mean, like, they were able to see the ROI. I mean, for any product, ROI is important, right? I mean, like, when customer is spending so much on any tool, he needs to see like what is the benefit he's going to get after using this. So these are the standards, which was proven, and this is being highly recognized by multiple customers. So for the first 6 months of the data which we received from one of the customer, they were able to get these all information, right? So the scenarios is like the labor utilization, asset utilization, the number of purchases. I mean, see, equipment purchases down by 3 to 5%. So 3 to 5%. When I say 3 to 5%, for us it might look in the simple number, but when you're talking about the millions of the transactions which are happening on the procurement side, I mean, like the equipment purchases because of the maintenance, because of the spare parts, or some other reasons, that will have a major difference to certain industries. It's not like every industry will behave the same, but when you consider the larger, I mean, in this scenario, they took the fleet management company, which saved like almost $9.5 million by meeting 100% availability with less maintenance, right? So when obviously the maintenance on the asset comes down, the profitability of using that particular asset will go up, right? And warranty requires, I mean, like, they if they are aware like that they have some warranty, and they can make use of it, then definitely they can make use of it, and that helps to recover a lot of things. Plant downtime is again like that's a big thing. And if you don't have proper maintenance on the asset, if any equipment, say for example power generation companies, if say for example you have your boilers and turbines there, if your boiler or turbine goes down, there are millions of dollars lost to the company, because like the power generation or anything will happen using those boilers and turbines. If they are down itself, the plant will go down, and the impact, right? I mean, the power cannot be saved anyway, so the flow will be interrupted, and there can be a lot of loss to this. Inventory needs, I'm like, there are things like where a lot of inventory would be saved in your inventory management. I mean, like, in your spares, say if you have some of the inventory which is being used only 20% in the whole year, then based on the stats you receive from the maximum, you can also reduce the inventory on that particular item, and you can increase that particular inventory budget to the different inventory item where the demand is more. These all things can be done. Okay. And purchasing labor, obviously, I mean, like, if we have more information on the labor, I mean, like, for this specific labor, what needs to be done, how much it needs to be done, these all information you can capture from Maximum. When you have these inputs in the system itself, system will be able to calculate these things for you, and that will help you to analyze what can be done for that particular any category of items. Mm. And I was also mentioning about integration. I think I don't have slide for it, but we have multiple types of integrations which are supported in Maximo. Like, you can have JMS based, which is Java message based integration. You can have export and import. I mean, like, there is something called export application and import application, you can upload the data. You can have the data from multiple places to at one place by using Excel, CSV formats. You can have the integration with the REST APIs. You can have integration with the web services. You can have interface tables. There are a lot many types of, there are precisely 7 types of integration mechanism which Maximo is supporting. So you
Hi,
can have
Dhanush.
multiple things.
Hi, Dhanu.
Yeah.
I think
Yes,
we have
please.
only 5 minutes to close the session, right? So I think it's better to take up the questions.
Yeah, I'll go for that. Yeah.
Okay.
Uh, right. Yes, sir.
I have posted a couple of questions in the chat. Okay, so just if you can answer them right quickly, it will be better.
Sure. Okay. I think it's okay. HKR group already answered it. Submit to please maximize this. Oh, it's already gone. So I'm sorry for that. As part of training, what industry again, I'll quickly tell you, like, industry, there are a lot of industry solutions, but maybe if there is specific demand for specific industry solution, we can talk about that. But most of the things would be on generic. The base of it, I can quickly touch base to a couple of standard industry based solutions as well.
Okay.
This training have to attend interview. With 8 years, I'm not very sure. I'll be talking more on the base of it. So, but for 8 years, the expectation would be little more. But yes, you'll be able to. At the end of the session, you'll have enough information, and that can help you to crack interviews. Yes.
Okay.
I can training to real time overview of Maximum. I can navigate to my customer, but I cannot create any records. But I can navigate to multiple applications which I was talking about.
Okay.
Training material, I can provide the materials which are available. Even you can find it from internet as well. Most of the things, but yeah, I can give the real time scenarios which I had gone through probably. What level of interview assistance can I get? I think, after training, most of the things, at least on base level, to an extent, theoretically you will be able to understand, and you'll be able to answer them. What is the experience of trying system? I have 13 plus years of experience in Maximo right now. Mm.
Okay.
Are we going to access Maximo VM? I will not be able to provide, but there is something called preview site, which is IBM based thing, where you can have majority of applications where you can navigate and have questions and answers for it.
Okay.
Any other questions? Any other questions, guys, apart from the ones? Any other questions, guys? Okay, if there are no questions, probably we can wrap up the session, and we can continue later.